Hey guys, Eddie here at Eddie's Customs and Restorations. So today what we're going to be working on is a 2007 Nissan Altima. The issue with this vehicle is that it's leaking a lot of oil. That was a customer complaint. So after going in there, I noticed that the oil cooler was leaking, which is what we're going to be replacing today. So here I have the new cooler. See, and there's a new gasket. You're gonna need a gasket that goes on this area here. Okay, so the cooler right now is leaking from this area up in there. So we're gonna be going over the steps on how to replace that, and hopefully save you guys some time and money by giving you guys some pointers on how to take on this job, and also seeing what tools you'll need and seeing the difficulty extent of this job. This ring pops out. You don't have to be afraid of anything. Okay, so there's an indentation here for the air valve. So you want to align that ring right with that air valve. You see how it has like a little hump right there. You want to align that right there, and then just pop the rest of it. There's like a little groove in each one of these tabs. That's where the ring goes into. So it goes like that. Okay, so these are 21. So if you come in through the passenger side front wheel, after removing the front wheel, you'll gain access to the oil cooler. It's right there. I'm flashing the light right on it. Okay, so it's leaking from way up there in the top part, like I shown in the beginning of this video. Before you begin removing the screws, go ahead and unplug that connector right there. It's a single wire connector. It has a push clip, so this one you're gonna push it in. See if that'll show on camera. Okay, well you push it in that way, and so if you're holding it like that, push down, push in, and then pull out. And it might fight you a little bit, but it'll come loose. And if you have trouble pulling it off, this can help. Okay, so you put the flathead screwdriver, let's see if I can get a better view, underneath. You put it underneath the connector. So as you're pushing down on that clip, you rotate this screwdriver and it'll help you pull the connector out at the same time. I don't know if you're able to get a good view of that. Okay, so if you push on the connector and then rotate this flathead screwdriver at the bottom, you're pulling up on the connector at the same time. It's very difficult for me to get that on camera though, because I do have a tripod only. And I got the connector off that way. You can use a ratchet, an extension, and a 12mm socket. Preferably use a long ratchet like this one for leverage, because these are going to be kind of tough to break loose Okay, so once you broke them all loose, if you have a cordless ratchet, that would really help because it's so uncomfortable in there. So I'm gonna go ahead and use my cordless ratchet. It's possible that you may spill some oil when you remove this. So it'd be a good preventative measure to put a little catch can at the bottom. The one at the highest point, the one at the very top, is going to be the longer bolt, and the shorter one goes more towards the bottom. So now you just pull on it, and if it doesn't come straight off, which it should, you could just pry on the edges. Let me see if I can show you. Just pry up on the edges, try and get your flathead screwdriver in between the two edges of the surface. So where it meets, you would basically just want to split it apart, you know, and get the flathead screwdriver in between. Now, you can remove your old gasket so you can put in your new one. But you're not going to do that yet. For now, just remove the gasket and get it out of the way so you don't double gasket it by accident. Okay, so there's the old gasket. Okay, so once you have dropped it down, you can see that there's a clamp here, and then there's actually another clamp way at the back. So I'm going to go ahead and use these vice grips, since I'm pretty sure that's what most people are going to be working with, just to show you guys that it's actually possible to use these in such a tight spot. So I'm going to do my best to not take so long removing this, because it is in such a horrible position. So you may have to move the cooler around so that you can actually get, you know, more space in there for the vice grips, so that you're able to bring it loose. So once you slide the clamp off, you're gonna try to use a flathead screwdriver or something of that nature to kind of lift up on that hose to get it loose. And so long as your hose is not all old and crusty and all that, you should not damage the hose with a flathead. Unless you have a really sharp flathead, then you might not want to use that one. But and once you kind of break it loose, you're going to start seeing the coolant flowing out through there. Okay. Then you just rotate and pull, rotate and pull. It's a good idea to clamp the hose using vice grips or a plastic clamp or something. Now we move on to the back one. Okay, that one's gonna be a little tough because it is rotated towards the back. We'll go ahead and try and rotate it as best as we can. That hose may need to be replaced. I'll have to tell the customer, let the customer know about that there's a little bit of crusties up in there. And we're gonna go ahead and put a different style hose clamp on here, because these hose clamps are used in assembly for quicker assembly. So you want to replace those. I mean, they're spring loaded, so over time, you know, they get weaker and stuff like that. So we're gonna go ahead and replace these with regular style screw style clamps. Man, I don't know what's happening to me today. I can't even talk. But yeah, we're gonna replace those with regular screw-in style clamps. Now you can take a moment to verify if you have the correct one. Okay, so one thing you gotta do before proceeding to install the part, you need to transfer over the oil pressure switch. Okay, and you're going to use a 1 inch and 1/16 socket to remove that. Okay, so once you have transferred over your oil pressure switch, you're going to want to clean the surface where this is going to mount to. Okay, so you want to clean this surface on the new part, which should be relatively clean, and then you also want to clean that surface up there. You know, just with a rag, clean it off real good, take all the oil off and all that, and then start putting this one back in there, or putting it in through. You're gonna go ahead and leave the original hoses. Customer's actually looking into buying another car here pretty soon, so replacing this hose would not be in her to-do list. You want to make sure that your screw on your clamp is facing a direction to where you can still gain access through it after installing the part. Once you have installed that one, you're going to set it to the position that it's going to go, in our case like this. Okay, and then you're going to bring it back down and you're going to tighten your clamp, because you don't want that hose, you don't want to tighten up that clamp when it's facing the wrong direction. And then when you go off to say for example, you tighten it up like so, okay, and you tighten it up right there, and then once it's tight, you rotate it, and then you slide on your other hose, and then you hook up the part. What's going to happen is that you're going to have this hose back here twisted and under a lot of resistance throughout its life, and that can potentially raise a problem for premature wear. So that's why you want to clamp that down when it's already at its resting position. Once you have clamped it down, just make sure it's good and secure. Give it a nice little pull. Now you're going to want to move on to the next hose. Same idea. Make sure it's to a easy way where you can access this clamp screw. You're going to put it on there like so, and then you're going to push it up. And it might not even be on camera anymore at that point. It might be pushed up too high, but I'm simply going to slide on the original hose, the front hose over here, and just slide it on, and then slide up the clamp and then tighten it up. If you're having trouble installing one of these hoses, it helps to add a little bit of grease for it to slide on a lot easier. Once you have tightened up both clamps, now you're ready to install your gasket on that surface. Go ahead and take this time to clean it again in case you got it dirty throughout your install of the cooler over here in this section. There's chances that you might have, touched some oily parts around it, because if you're replacing this, more than likely you have a leak, pretty bad one like this. So you want to go ahead and make sure you clean off both surfaces again. Okay, now you want to go ahead and put your gasket on. There's really only one way to put this one on. Good way to remember or to get it right always is on one of the surfaces, which on this case on the block, you could see a bit of a ring around the oil ports. Okay, and those rings are due to these parts of the gasket right here, this little ring that's on there. Okay, that's the part that you want touching the block. Okay, so it's going to go like so. We'll go ahead and install this one. Put it up in there. Just line up your studs. Like so. Okay, so if you were to find yourself in a situation where one of these hoses up there that we just clamped on ends up binding or has a kink on it, a solution for that, in my case that's not the case, but if you were to run into that issue to where it kinked on you, all you got to do is reach up over there and take that hose clamp loose, just loosen it up to where it barely lets go of the hose, and then just twist the hose to wherever it wants to relax at. Okay, because once again, you don't want to overstress those hoses because you will cause premature wear and you can end up cracking it prematurely, and the last thing you want to do is end up down here again. Now you can go ahead and hook up your oil pressure switch. Okay, once you have that, you can start replacing your hardware. And yeah, guys, I realize I say replace a lot. Replace, I mean replace as in put the bolt back in. Okay, so long one up top. And always start them in by hand. Last thing you want to do is cross thread in such an uncomfortable position down here to where you're gonna play hell trying to extract that screw. Okay. Once you have them all started, you can go ahead and start tightening them up. You always want to double check after you tighten up things with power tools, because when you're dealing with battery powered equipment, once the battery starts going low, the tightening and loosening strengths change. So you always want to double check, make sure that everything is actually good and tight. See, for example, this one was not. And you don't want to kill the bolts either, you know, just snug them down good, because you also don't want to break them. Okay, so once you've completed tightening up all your hardware over here, and you plug back in your oil pressure switch, now you're just going to put your tire back on. And also, if you spilled any coolant throughout this procedure, you can go ahead and top off your coolant reservoir or radiator at this time. Okay guys, I hope this video was informative for you, and hopefully it answered all your questions. And I tried making this video as detailed as I could, including pretty much every step of the way. So if I missed something, guys, or if you guys have any more questions, feel free to drop a comment down below. And also remember to please share, like, and subscribe if you can. That would be greatly appreciated. Thank you very much.